That's bad.
Alright man, how's it been guys? I've been trying to take advantage of as much free time as I could muster up getting stuff done on this and getting stuff done on the Skylark. Look at that shine on this thing. Ooh-wee! That is nice. Now, this is just wet sanding 1000 grit, wet sanding 2000 grit, and then some 3M perfected rubbing compound. That's all it is. So this is relatively minimal work. Now obviously I don't claim, nor have I ever claimed, nor will I ever claim to be a paint and body guy, but I think this is turning out pretty dang good. As one of my buddies described it, quote, too good for you, and another unnamed source said, quote, quit talking to me, idiot. But yeah, I'm just very pleasantly surprised with how well it's turning out. Such an involved process, but I know the end result will be worth it, so I'm just going to keep doing a little bit here and there when I've got time. I usually end up coming out here at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock and then working on it for a few hours and then going to bed. And then the S10, I don't remember where we left off with this. I think making the crossover perhaps. And you can see, do have the wastegate welded on it now so that both banks are feeding it. Got the manifold gasket on so the hot side no longer has to come off. I just got the T4 gasket in the mail today, and I'm hoping that the stuff to make the feed line just showed up today, and then we can get that knocked out. And injector adapters, because I already cut the harness once, so I figured I'll just get some quick little adapters to go from the truck Multec to the EV1 on the Snake Eaters. If you guys need anything from Snake Eater Performance, you know the drill. Code Snydertron for 10% off your entire order. But yeah, really, to get this thing running again, oil feed line to the turbo, and then injector adapters, and change the tune in the ECU, and we should be back up and running. And I have no idea what spring is in this gate. I think this is the wastegate off the red Fox body I had last year, but I don't know for sure. If it is, then this should be like an 8-pound spring. And I have a new converter from Circle D that should be here in the next day or two for this thing. I was talking to Brian at Circle D. Dude's a freaking legend. He's always the one I go to whenever I got any sort of converter questions, anything like that. And Circle D's homies, they've been with us since Goldie Hawn, so they're always the ones I like to go to. I know a lot of people like PTC. That's totally fine. They also make a great product, but we're a Circle D family around these parts. So hit up Brian, explain the whole truck to him, and we've got one of their, I believe it's a 245 millimeter, could be a 252, but I think it's a 245 millimeter. I told him that we've got a 5.3 with just a sloppy stage 2 cam, a pretty small exhaust housing on this turbo, so it should make boost without a ton of RPM or effort, and then we're foot braking the power glide. I explained all that. And we're going to try, it might be kind of tough with their 245 unit, but we're going to try to be able to foot brake this thing to about 4,000 RPM. If we can do that, then we should be able to leave way better than the RX-7 ever did. And the RX-7 was cutting like 140, 60 foots, leaving off a foot brake. This thing's similar weight, obviously same transmission. It'll have a better starting line ratio, a better turbo, because the RX-7 had the eBay turbo at the time, and the RX-7 was struggling to foot brake to 3,000. So by all accounts, this thing should have the potential to be hopefully faster than the RX-7. We got a whole lot less ECU because the RX-7 was on Terminator, so we were able to do some like boost builder stuff. Just trying to kind of like learn from experiences and stuff like that and improve little bits of stuff here and there. This thing should be capable of going a lot faster than the RX-7 did. I know our weak link right now is the rear end. Everybody likes to make jokes about that, myself included. I don't know how long that thing's gonna last, but it would not break my heart if it blew up. Because we got an 8.8 right here. It doesn't have the right gears in it. It has 373s. I'd like to put 454s, or not 454s, 456s in this. That way it matches our gear setup right now, because I think our gearing is really good. And then I've also been debating on pulling the bench seat out of this. I've got a Kirky over sitting in the 55 that hasn't been used in 2 years. The only problem is I really don't know how long I'm going to keep that truck. Like, there's a very good possibility that I get it running and turnkey and making solid, like low 10, high 9 second passes with this setup, and then off it, because I really want to focus on these two, especially that. So there is a good chance that I end up offing this thing, so I don't want to put my good seat in it. So we're just going to kind of play that by ear. Also, this seems to be like a secret. Not enough of you guys know this. If you go to Monkey Fab's website, you can get custom engraved trim rings. So this one, it's a dime a dozen. I got the gasket in here, and I figured while I'm focusing on this, I might as well start hooking up the AEM True Boost setup too. It's super simple. Like, this is what a lot of the carb guys use, because it's all like a standalone boost controller. It uses a 3-port Mac valve, and this gauge is pretty much all you need. And this is what'll do all the boost control. So you can see vacuum line there, so you can obviously read the boost. And then it has like little sensors in there that tell the Mac valve when to open and close. This is the older one, I think. Yeah, 358495. But it should still work. So you'll go off the compressor housing into this, into port 1, I believe. And then you'll tee that line to the bottom port of the wastegate, right? So compressor pressure, that's kind of hard to say. Compressor pressure goes to the bottom port of the wastegate. Perfect. And then the Mac valve, this port coming out of it, port 2, because port 3 is the vent, port 2 goes to the top port. All that does is allow the boost controller to either add more pressure or take pressure away, things like that. So it's kind of like whatever your spring is at, this thing can just double it on the fly. And it has a wire for scramble, so you can, I think, ground it out or add 12 volt. I'm not sure which one. It's been a while since I've looked at the instructions. But you can do a boost scramble with this to add 3, 4, 5 pounds, which, since we don't have a trans brake, would be perfect for the button on the top of our shifter. So this should be really simple to hook up. This red and black that split off by themselves, these two connect to that Mac valve, the 2 wires coming off of that. These 2 wires, hard to mess it up because you can wire them up either way. And then the red and black on this side, they get connected straight to power and ground. And then the orange is the ground for the scramble. And the gray one, I don't remember offhand what that is. And then this obviously just goes right to a vacuum source. We'll put it on probably the belly of our intake manifold. So, I don't want... Are you not a 12? You're not a 12, you're a 13. So, I don't want this T here. Just because the lines will be looped around kind of weird. So, we'll save that for something. It's good fitting still. What we're going to do is we'll run a straight fitting off the compressor. Oops, let's not cross-thread it. I think the bottom part of the gate is cross-threaded, so that's fun. This is just aluminum and aluminum, so it doesn't need to be reefed on like a head bolt or anything. And then, right here, we've got a T. These 1/4-inch push lock fittings are so cheap on Amazon, and they tidy things up so nice. So if you're still using like the silicone push on a barbed connector, just get rid of those things, man. So this will just be teed right in here somewhere. One end, like I said, will go into port 1. The other off here will go into the bottom port of the gate. Easy peasy. Just gotta find a way I want to mount this. Might whip up a bracket or something to put it there. I don't know if I have any screws that'll work. We'll see. I'm gonna play around with that real quick. I found this cute little spot for the Mac valve right there. Got this line hooked up. I might have to move that more towards the middle, just so there's not so much pressure on this little one up here. We'll see. With that in mind, maybe I will start with you up here. You can come right to yonder. We'll cut you right about like that. tin snips seem to work really well for these. What the fuck you're looking at? We got probably like 5 seconds before that falls off the exhaust onto the floor. So, we'll get you. Whoops, nope. Yeah, I think I'm gonna move you down. It might be a little long, but that's alright. That's not junk. Yep, we're falling. Oh god. So, these now intersect like that. We can decide where we want this. Right about there. Seems pretty natural. So that's where I'm gonna cut it. Just right about there on both of them. Not my favorite, but that's what we're working with. So the MAC valve is all plumbed. Just have to run these 2 wires now, and then like I said, we'll get the gauge mounted somewhere inside. Don't really know where I want to do that just yet. Also, let me take care of this before I forget about it. Boom, taken care of. I'm debating on making a plate that replaces this, because this, I don't know, debating on putting something there or pulling the stock gauges out and making the thing for that. I like the idea of having them here more, just and leaving the dash, because the dash, aside from these 2 cracks, is in pretty good shape. I mean, this thing's almost 40 years old. Hard to believe. It's like 37 years old. So it's not as easy to find these dashes in decent shape anymore. Then yeah, like I said, for the scramble, we can put it on this button so that we're just like foot braking, launch, go, boost. And it's amusing about how much people talked absolute crap about this shifter mount never working. And they're like, it's going to be too flimsy. You'll never be able to hit a gear. This thing's great. Like, sure, if I really reef on it, it's going to move around. But if you really reef on anything, it's going to move around. And then I need to make some sort of little relay board for this thing. That way I don't have to keep... like, look, there's 3 wires on this toggle switch and then another 3 on this one. So I need to make up some sort of relay board so that things can be on their own circuit, or just not so much juice being shared. That doesn't need to be anything crazy though. I mean, what I could really do is I could set up a bus bar that a relay controls, so that I turn on the switch and that activates the relay that sends power to the bus bar. That's what I could do. And then they're getting like full battery power, you know? It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So we could do something really simple like that, where that's just a relay, a bus bar. I could reuse this toggle switch and a few lengths of wire and some connectors. So you probably couldn't tell by my rambling there, but I think what I decided to do is make a plate for where the radio used to be, and that will mount the True Boost there, and I need to get a wideband for this too, so I can externally mount or monitor it. I'll probably get an AEM for that too. And then I should possibly still be able to reach vacuum ports off this, because we'll need one from there going to the the blow-off valve, and I've got to hook up my map sensor. And I just got the EFI Source 3-bar in the mail a couple days ago, which those have gone up in price. Those used to be $35 and now they're $40, which still isn't crazy for a 3-bar. That'll read like 28, 29 pounds of boost. The thing about map sensors that seem to confuse a lot of people when they're first like learning about them is it like a stock ECU map sensor is a 1 bar. So you hear that, you think, all right, that'll read 14 pounds of boost. No, because that 14 is vacuum. So you need a 2 bar to read 14 pounds, a 3 bar, 28 pounds roughly, on like that. So a 1.5 bar will be like 7 pounds of boost or whatever. So that trips up a lot of people who are just starting out with like turbo stuff or supercharged stuff. Is they'll hear 1 bar, 2 bar. Most often seems to be 2 bar. They'll hear 2 bar and think, all right, I can go 20-ish pounds of boost. I mean, you can, just won't be able to read it. All right, got the oil feed line all made and in place. Got to zip tie it out of the way so it stays off the header and everything, but we're all good there. Now, the next thing I need to do is figure out a spot to mount the transmission cooler. And this is going to be kind of tough because that one, it's huge, but under here without a fan or anything on it, it's not going to get a crazy amount of airflow. So that's my kind of not really big concern. Like I said, this thing is just enormous, but it is still a concern. Probably set the drive shaft up in place and then find a spot for it. If I had enough line, I'd almost put it like back there or something, you know? We'll see. I'm gonna play around with different ideas. It's kind of difficult to hold this in the camera at the same time. Alright, got the trans cooler mounted and got it on about as much of an angle as I could really put it, realistically. Because this thing is wide, so it kind of had to be this way. Couldn't put it above the drive shaft because the suspension's at full droop. Once it goes up, it'd crush it. Didn't have enough line to put it behind, so this is kind of what we're stuck with. I was debating on cutting this off, but I'm sure this isn't going to be on the truck for super long. I'll probably end up having to put one with a fan on it, or put a fan on this one would be nice. Because this thing has a ton of capacity. Just a little concerned about airflow, which is why I tried to angle it as much as I could to catch as much air possible. But kind of is what it is. So, do I think it's going to work? I think it'll work okay. I don't think it's going to be spectacular. Just sitting there idling, probably not going to be ideal. Once we're moving, I don't know how much air is going to actually be under the truck, so it might be a terrible idea. But we'll see. Like I said, worst case scenario, I can get a little fan or maybe even 2 little fans. Like a 6-inch fan cannot cost too much. So got this thing actually really close to firing up. I think just put the map sensor in it and put a tune in it, and this thing should fire up again. And then I just got the notification this morning that the new converter shipped out. So once that shows up, swapping it out should be a whole lot easier. You can get to all the bell housing bolts real easy now. Don't think I'll have to drop the exhaust out of the way, so that's one step that speeds things up. Really all I got to do, pull the drive shaft, disconnect the shifter, transmount the bell housing bolts, converter bolts, and that thing's out of there. I don't have to touch the tranny lines. The transmission only has to come back like, I don't know, 7-8 inches and then can drop down. And then, like I said, get the tune in this thing. We should be able to leave on a few pounds of boost and see if we can grenade this 10-bolt. Truck's coming along. Hopefully in the next video with it, we should be able to fire it up and maybe make a few pounds of boost. So that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, clicking that bell to get the notifications. I'll see you next time.